Go ahead, cry about it. You'll never see that money again. Amanda's voice dripped with satisfaction through my phone speaker. Consider it payment for all the times you've made me look bad in front of the family. I gripped my coffee mug tightly, staring out my kitchen window at the early morning frost. My sister-in-law had always been spiteful, but this was different. This was calculated. How did you even access that account? I asked, keeping my voice steady despite the anger building inside me. She laughed, the sound sharp and cruel. Oh, please. James left his banking information in his home office. My dear brother should really be more careful with his passwords. But I guess that's what happens when you trust family too much. My name is Diana Foster, and at 34, I was listening to my sister-in-law brag about stealing my family's entire savings. $300,000 we'd spent 8 years building. Money meant for our children's future, for emergencies, for the life James and I had carefully planned. You know this is theft, Amanda, I said calmly, which seemed to irritate her more than if I'd screamed. Theft. Please, I'd like to see you prove it. James gave me access to his accounts years ago for emergencies. This qualifies. I needed the money, and you two clearly had plenty to spare. Her voice turned mocking. How does it feel, Diana, knowing everything you worked for is gone? I smiled, though she couldn't see it. Thank you for letting me know, Amanda. I appreciate your honesty. There was a pause on her end, my calm response clearly throwing her off guard. What's wrong with you? Did you not hear me? I took everything. I heard you perfectly. Is there anything else? Her frustrated huff made me smile wider. You're insane. No wonder James is always working late. Probably can't stand being around such a doormat. I ended the call and took a slow sip of my coffee, my hands finally steady. Amanda had just made the biggest mistake of her life, but she was too arrogant to realize it. Walking into our home office, I pulled out the bottom drawer of my filing cabinet and removed a false bottom. Inside was a small key I hadn't needed to use until now. James and I had always known Amanda was dangerous. Her jealousy had been obvious from the day we got married. She'd spent years trying to create rifts between us, spreading rumors, making snide comments about my background, suggesting James could do better. But we'd been prepared. The account she'd emptied, it was a carefully monitored secondary account. The real savings, more than twice that amount, was secured in a safety deposit box at a different bank, one Amanda knew nothing about. Every major withdrawal from our regular accounts was quietly transferred there, protected by security measures that would make even the most determined thief think twice. I picked up my phone and called James at his office. He answered on the second ring, his voice warm. Hey, honey, everything okay? Your sister just called to brag about stealing the money from our savings account. I said, my tone matter of fact. She used your passwords from the home office. The silence on his end was deafening. Then she did what? Don't worry, I assured him. The real savings are safe, but she needs to learn a lesson this time. No more letting her off easy. James sighed heavily. I'll be home in 20 minutes. Have you called the police yet? Not yet. I wanted to check the security cameras first. Another precaution we'd installed after Amanda's last visit to our house had resulted in missing jewelry that she claimed I'd misplaced. I'll call them on my way home, James said, his voice hardening. I'm done protecting her. After hanging up, I went to our security system and downloaded the footage from the past week. Sure enough, there was Amanda, slipping into our house using the spare key she probably copied years ago. The cameras caught her going straight to James' office, spending nearly an hour at his computer. My phone buzzed with a text from her. B2, bought myself a nice little vacation with your money. Thanks, sis. I screenshot the message, adding it to our growing file of evidence. Amanda had always underestimated me, seeing me as the quiet, passive woman who'd stolen her brother's attention. She never understood that my calm exterior didn't mean I was weak. It meant I was smart enough to be prepared. The front door opened and James walked in, his face a storm of emotions. I have the bank statement, he said, holding up his phone. Multiple transfers to her account over the past 3 days. She didn't even try to hide it. I nodded, pulling out the safety deposit box key. We should go to the bank first, then the police station. She needs to understand that actions have consequences. James pulled me into a tight hug. I'm so sorry, he whispered. I should have cut ties with her years ago. Don't apologize, I said, hugging him back. We knew this day might come. That's why we were ready. As we drove to the bank, my phone kept buzzing with more taunting messages from Amanda. Each one was automatically forwarded to our lawyer, more evidence of her gleeful confession to the theft. The bank manager, Mr. Thompson, greeted us personally. He'd helped us set up our security measures years ago, understanding our concerns about Amanda's potential interference. As we followed him to the safety deposit box room, I thought about all the times Amanda had mocked my paranoid attention to detail. "I don't understand how you can be so calm about this," James said as we waited for Mr. Thompson to return with our box. I squeezed his hand. "Because being angry won't solve anything. Besides," I smiled, "I think it's time your sister learned that the quiet ones are often the most prepared." The safety deposit box held more than just our savings. It contained years of documented evidence. Every threatening message, every borrowed item that was never returned, every suspicious incident we carefully noted and filed away. Amanda thought she'd finally won, but her victory was about to turn into her biggest regret. My phone buzzed one final time. "Hope you're not too upset about the money. Just think of it as payback for all the times you've made me look bad. Maybe next time you'll learn your place." I showed the message to James, watching his expression harden. "Ready to make the police report?" I asked quietly. He nodded, jaw set. "More than ready. It's time Amanda faced the real world." As we left the bank, our real savings secure and documentation in hand, I felt a strange sense of peace. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about being prepared for the worst while hoping for the best. Amanda was about to learn that lesson the hard way. The police station was busy when we arrived, but Detective Sarah Martinez took one look at our documentation and immediately ushered us into a private room. As we laid out the evidence, security footage, bank statements, Amanda's gloating texts, and years of documented incidents, her expression grew increasingly serious. "This is remarkably thorough," she said, reviewing the timeline we compiled. "Most victims of financial theft don't have nearly this much documentation. You said this has been building for years?" James nodded, his voice tight. "Diana warned me early on that Amanda's behavior wasn't normal sibling rivalry. We started keeping records after she borrowed our wedding silver and claimed we gifted it to her." Detective Martinez raised an eyebrow. "And you've maintained this level of documentation since then?" "Every incident," I confirmed, pulling out my phone to show her the latest string of texts. Amanda's always been careful to keep her actions just below the threshold of serious legal consequences. Until now. As if on cue, my phone buzzed with another message from Amanda. "Just booked first-class tickets to the Maldives. Your savings account had such a nice cushion." "Don't worry, I'll send pictures." The detective's eyes narrowed as she read the message. She's not even attempting to hide it. This level of brazen theft, combined with the documented premeditation. She looked up at us. "We have more than enough to move forward with charges." James gripped my hand tightly. "What happens next?" "Given the amount stolen and the evidence of premeditation, we're looking at grand theft and unauthorized computer access charges. We'll move quickly to freeze her accounts, but she's probably already spent some of it," I finished quietly. Detective Martinez nodded. "Most likely. However, your documentation of her previous behaviors will help establish a pattern." This clearly wasn't a one-time impulse. As we left the station, James was unusually quiet. I knew this was hitting him hard. Despite everything, Amanda was still his sister. We just pulled into our driveway when his phone rang. It was their mother, Eleanor. "How dare you?" she screeched, loud enough that I could hear her from the passenger seat. "Amanda called me in tears. She said you're trying to have her arrested over a simple misunderstanding." James put the phone on speaker. "A misunderstanding? Mom, she stole $300,000 from us. She broke into our house, accessed our accounts without permission, and has spent the last several hours bragging about it. She said you gave her access to those accounts years ago. She needed the money for her new business venture. As her brother, you should be supporting her dreams." I couldn't help but laugh, which drew Eleanor's immediate ire. "This is all your fault," she snapped at me. "You've turned my son against his family. Amanda would never." "Never what?" I interrupted, my voice steel. "Never break into our house. Never steal from us. Never lie about it. Because we have proof of all of those things." "Proof? What proof?" "Security cameras, Mom," James said warily. "Text messages, bank records, years of documented theft and manipulation. It's all going to the police. There was a long silence. You're bluffing, Eleanor finally said, but her voice wavered. Amanda said you couldn't prove anything. I pulled out my tablet and quickly emailed her one of the security clips. Check your inbox, Eleanor. That's your daughter using a copied key to enter our house last week. Would you like to see the footage of her spending an hour accessing our accounts without permission? Another long silence. I need to call Amanda. After she hung up, James leaned back in his seat, looking exhausted. I'm sorry, he said quietly. I should have stood up to them years ago. I reached over and squeezed his hand. We're standing up to them now. That's what matters. Inside, we found several voicemails from Amanda, her tone increasingly less smug as reality started setting in. The final one made us both pause. Look, maybe we can work something out, she said, trying to sound reasonable. I'll return what's left of the money, most of it anyway. Just call off the police. You're making this way bigger than it needs to be. Most of it? James muttered. How much has she already spent? Before I could respond, there was a knock at our door. Through the security camera, we could see Amanda standing on our porch, looking far less confident than she had this morning. Should we? James asked, gesturing to the door. I shook my head. Let the police handle it. She's had enough chances. We watched through the camera as Amanda paced our porch, occasionally peering through the windows. Finally, she left another voicemail. Fine, be that way. But remember, if I go down for this, I'm taking you both with me. I'll tell everyone how you've been hiding money, evading taxes, everything. No one will believe you over family. James started to reach for his phone, but I stopped him. Add it to the evidence file. Let her dig herself deeper. As if proving my point, Amanda had moved to our front window, not realizing the security camera was catching her attempts to peek inside. Her next text message was pure desperation. Last chance. Drop the charges or every dirty secret you have goes public. How about I start with how you really got your promotion last year, James? Or Deanna's little shopping habit? I snorted. Shopping habit. I keep every receipt and she knows it. James managed a small smile. And my promotion came with a dozen recommendation letters and a public announcement. She's getting sloppy. We were about to head upstairs when Detective Martinez called. Mrs. Foster. We've located your sister-in-law. She's attempting to book an international flight using your stolen funds. Would you like us to proceed with the arrest? I looked at James, who nodded firmly. Yes, I replied. It's time Amanda learned that actions have consequences. As we ended the call, another text came through, this one from Eleanor. I saw the video. We need to talk. Tomorrow, James said firmly when I showed him. I can't handle any more family drama tonight. I nodded, leading him to the kitchen where I started making his favorite tea. As the water boiled, I thought about how different our lives would be after today. No more walking on eggshells around Amanda. No more carefully documenting every interaction. No more pretending her jokes weren't actual threats. You know what's ironic? I said, handing James his tea. If she'd just asked for help, real help, not demands, we probably would have given it to her. He nodded slowly. But she didn't want help. She wanted to win, to prove she could take whatever she wanted without consequences. Well, I smiled slightly. She certainly proved something today. Our security system chimed with an alert. Amanda had returned to our porch. But this time she wasn't alone. Detective Martinez and 2 officers were with her, and from their body language, this wasn't a social call. Ready? I asked James softly. He took my hand, squeezing it gently. Ready. The arraignment hearing came faster than we expected. 1 month after Amanda's arrest, we sat in a courthouse watching her enter in a conservative outfit that was a far cry from the designer clothes she'd bought with our stolen money. Her confident smirk was gone, replaced by a carefully crafted look of remorse that didn't quite reach her eyes. The evidence against her was overwhelming. The prosecution had our years of documentation, security footage, bank records, and dozens of text messages where she openly bragged about the theft. But what really sealed her fate were the recordings from the airport security cameras, showing her attempting to flee the country with our money. All rise, the bailiff announced as the judge entered. Amanda's lawyer had already approached us about a plea deal, but we declined. Years of enabling her behavior had only made it worse. This time she needed to face the full consequences of her actions. The proceedings moved quickly. The prosecutor presented the evidence methodically, painting a clear picture of premeditated theft. When Amanda's texts were read aloud in court, including her threats to expose our secrets, I watched Eleanor sink lower in her seat, finally confronting the reality of who her daughter really was. Amanda's defense was weak, claims of misunderstanding, allegations that James had given her account access years ago, suggestions that this was all a family dispute blown out of proportion. But the evidence told a different story, and the judge wasn't buying it. "Miss Foster," the judge addressed Amanda directly, "your actions show not just theft, but a calculated attempt to harm your family members. The evidence suggests this isn't an isolated incident, but rather the culmination of years of escalating behavior. Do you have anything to say for yourself?" Amanda stood, and for a moment I saw a flicker of her old arrogance. "Your Honor, I admit I made a mistake, but my brother and sister-in-law are wealthy. They didn't need that money. I was desperate, starting a new business venture. In my family, we're supposed to help each other." The judge's expression hardened. Help each other? By breaking and entering? By stealing their life savings? By attempting to flee the country with their money? That's not helping, Miss Foster. That's criminal behavior. The sentence came down hard. 5 years in prison, mandatory restitution of the full amount stolen, plus additional damages. Amanda's face went pale as the reality of her situation finally hit her. As the officers led her away, she turned to look at us one last time. The hatred in her eyes made it clear she still didn't understand that she'd done this to herself. Outside the courthouse, Eleanor approached us hesitantly. The past month had aged her considerably as she'd been forced to confront the truth about her daughter. "I owe you both an apology," she said quietly. "I should have seen it sooner. All those times I defended her, made excuses. I helped create this." James hugged his mother, his voice gentle. "We all played a part, Mom. But it's over now. Amanda needs to learn there are consequences in life." As we drove home, I thought about the safety deposit box that had protected our real savings. "You know," I said to James, "we don't need to keep such careful records anymore. No more security cameras, no more documented incidents." He smiled, taking my hand. "Actually, I think we should keep some of it. Not because of Amanda, but because being prepared served us well. Besides," he squeezed my hand, "our kids should learn that protecting yourself isn't paranoid. It's smart." That evening, as we sat on our back porch watching the sunset, I received one final text from Amanda's old number, her last message before heading to prison. "I hope you're happy. You've ruined my life." I showed it to James, who shook his head sadly. "She still doesn't get it. She ruined her own life. We just refuse to let her ruin ours too." I deleted the message without responding. Our lives were moving forward. The money Amanda had managed to spend, about $50,000 on luxury items and travel bookings, would be repaid through her restitution. The rest was safe, just as it had always been. Eleanor started coming over for weekly dinners, our relationship slowly healing now that Amanda's toxic influence was gone. She marveled at our security system, our careful documentation, our attention to detail. "I used to think you were paranoid," she admitted one evening. "Now I realize you were just smarter than the rest of us." 6 months later, we received notice that Amanda's appeal had been denied. She would serve her full sentence. The same day, we got approved to adopt our first child, something we'd been working toward for years but had put on hold because of Amanda's instability. As we prepared the nursery, I found myself thinking about the lessons we'd learned. Sometimes the people closest to you can be the most dangerous. Sometimes staying calm and being prepared is better than getting angry. And sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's living well and protecting what matters most. James found me in the nursery, looking at the security camera we'd installed. "Still keeping watch?" he asked, wrapping his arms around me. I leaned back against him, smiling. "Always. But now it's for all the right reasons." Our story wasn't about winning or losing anymore. It was about building a safe, happy life, something Amanda had never understood. In trying to destroy us, she'd only made us stronger, wiser, and more certain of what really mattered. That night, as we looked through adoption paperwork, I realized that sometimes the worst things people do to us lead us to build something better. Amanda had tried to take everything from us, but in the end, she'd only succeeded in showing us exactly who we could trust and how strong we could be together.